Hey, welcome back. 2 Samuel chapter 23. One more chapter. We'll finish this, Lord willing, next week. Chapter 23 begins with, these are the last words of David. And David, the son of Jesse, said, and the man who was raised up on high, the anointed of the God of Israel. All these are things, accolades of David. He had a lot of bad things in his life, but now we're remembering him, though, for the good things that he did. He was the anointed of the God of Jacob, and he was the sweet psalmist of Israel. We've read one of his psalms here recently in Samuel, lots of them over in the Psalms. And we're going to get another little short psalm or song, beginning with verse 2, I believe. And it begins with, the Spirit of the Lord spake by me, which David attests himself that God was speaking through him. For us, it's through David's pen, preserved on the writings that we have in our Bible. The Spirit of the Lord spake by me, by his word was in my tongue, and in his pen too. And the song goes on, says, the God of Israel said, the rock of Israel, another term for God, solid and unchanging God, spake to me. And he said, he that ruleth over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God. So David, if you're going to rule my people, you've got to be a just man. And you've got to rule in the fear of God. And that's God's eternal, unchanging word for all people at all times, including the United States of America. If we're going to have rulers and leaders in this country, then whether it's pastors or political leaders, they need to be just men who are ruling in the fear of God, because he's the ultimate authority. And he shall say, verse 4, he shall, this kind of leader, verse 4 says, he'll be like light of the morning when the sun rises, even a morning without cloud. If you get a leader like that who's just and ruling in the fear of God, it's like going out and seeing a beautiful sunrise on a cloudless morning. And it's like this, as, more similes. It's as the tender grass springing out of the earth by clear shining after the rain. It's like our little showers come through, and you can just see the grass growing in the clearness after the storm's over. That's the kind of leader. If he's ruling justly and in the fear of God, they'll be refreshing. And David says, although my house be not so with God, I guess some of his boys were still not where they should be with God. But David says, but with me, he's made an everlasting covenant. He's made an everlasting covenant with you too. That's only through Jesus Christ. He's made with me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things and sure. For this is all my salvation and all my desire, although he make it not to grow, his family. But the sons of Belial, flip side of the coin, like other psalms, you get the good side, and then he said, but the sons of Belial, which is an Old Testament term for lowlifes, but the sons of Belial shall be all them as thorns thrust away, because they can't be taken with hands. He says, just like people that reject God's covenant, he said they're just the sons of Belial that are just like thorns. They ain't good for nothing. You can't hardly even handle them, get rid of them, just pick them up and you throw them in the fire is what God's going to do with them. But the man that shall touch them must be fenced with iron and stout. Can't hardly, their spear, you can't handle them. And them sons of Belial that reject God's covenant, they'll be utterly burned with fire in the same place. Then the rest of the chapter, beginning with verse 8 through 39, we'll kind of breeze through it, but it was a list of David's mighty men who God recognized in the Bible. David had this whole army of Israel, but he had his special forces too. That was like his inmost men that he really depended on. And he lists them by name here, beginning with verse 8. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Tachmonite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains. The same was Adino as his name, the Eznite. He lift up his spear against 800 who he slew at one time. And if he did that, then you can bet that it's like fighting with the jawbone of an ass. Somebody did in the Old Testament and killed many of them. It was God working through them, right? And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahihite, one of the three mighty men with David, whom they defied the Philistines that were gathered together to battle, and the men of Israel were gone away. He arose and smote the Philistines till his hand was weary, and his hand claven to the sword, and the Lord wrought a great victory that day. And the people returned after him only to spoil or take the Philistines' stuff. And then in verse 11 he mentions the old Shema. After him was Shema, the son of Agi the Hararite. And the Philistines were gathered together into a troop where was a piece of ground full of lentils. And the people fled from the Philistines. And I guess the Philistines were going to come in and destroy the crops. But this guy, Shema, he stood his ground there, and God worked through him. He stood in the midst of the ground, and he defended it, and he slew the Philistines. And David recognized that, hey, these are my mighty men that I'm leaving praise to by leaving a written record of them here. But you notice he also says, but it was God that did it. The Lord wrought a great victory. And 3 of the 30 chief went down and came to David in the harvest time to the cave of Adullam. Remember when David was having to hide from Saul, and he was ran out and he was living in the cave of Adullam for a while, and his mighty men were there with him. And the troop of Philistines pitched in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in a hold, or he was holed up in that cave. And the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. That's where David wanted to be, but the Philistines were there now. And David longed. He said, oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. I'd give anything. He had water right outside the cave too, I guess. I don't know, but he said, boy, I'd love to have a drink of the well from Bethlehem. I'm homesick. I want to go home. And the 3 mighty men heard that statement. They break through the host of the Philistines. They drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and they took it and they brought it to David. He didn't know they'd gone on this mission. They were doing something special for him. Nevertheless, he wouldn't drink thereof. He poured it out as an offering to God, to the Lord. And he said, be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Is not this the blood of the men that went in jeopardy of their lives? They hazarded their lives to get this for me. I'm going to offer it to you, God. Therefore, he'd not drink it. These things did these 3 mighty men. And then there's Abishai in verse 18, the brother of Joab. Well, we read a lot about these guys, didn't we? Joab the general and his brother took over. The son of Zeruiah was chief among the 3. And he lifted up his spear against 300, and he slew them. And he had the name among the 3. Was he not most honorable of the 3? Therefore he was their captain. Howbeit he attained not unto the first 3. And Benani, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts. And here's one of them. David said, he done a lot of great things, but here's one I'll always remember. And he wrote down so it'd be eternally in God's record here. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab, 2 fierce men. And he did it. He said, I remember that day he went down, there was snow on the ground. He went down in a pit and whipped them. He went down and slew a lion, a real lion this time, in the midst of a pit in the time of snow. So he killed 2 lion-like men, then he killed a real lion in a hole in the ground in the snow one day. And he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man. And the Egyptian had a spear in his hand. But he went down to him with his staff, and he plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand, and he slew him with his own spear. He took his spear away from him and killed him with it. These things did, here's a list now. Benani, the son of Jehoiada, had the name among the 3 mighty men. He was more honorable than the 30, but he attained not to the first 3. And David set him over his guard. There's 3 that nobody was like, but then there was the 30. Asahel, the brother of Joab, was one of the 30. Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem. Shema the Haradite. Elka the Haradite. Helez the Paltite. Ira the son of Ikesh the Tekoite. I'm speaking in tongues when I read through this fast. Abiezer the Anethothite. Mebani the Hushathite. Zalman the Ahohite. Maharai the Nephthathite. A bunch of ites. Halab, the son of Bani, Netophathite. Ittai, the son of Ribai, out of Gibeah, the children of Benjamin. And Benani, the Parathonite. Hiddai of the brooks of Gash. Abion, the Arbathite. This is his 30 mighty men listed. Asmaveth, the Barhumite. Ella, this is just who they are and where they're from. Eliabah the Shaalbanite of the sons of Jashan and Jonathan, Shema the Harahite, Ahiam the son of Sherar the Harahite, Eliphalet the son of Ahasbai, the son of the Mahakathite, Eliam the son of Ahithophel the Gileonite, Hezrah the Carmelite, Periah the Arbite, Igal the son of Nathan of Zobah, Bani the Gedite, Zelek the Ammonite, Nahariah the Beerothite, armor bearer to Joab, that's who he was, the son of Zuriah. Then there was Ira of Ithrite, Gareb the Ithrite, and then the last one he mentions in our chapter here is one of his mighty men of his 30 special forces. And don't you know that this grieved David even to have to write his name down? Uriah the Hittite, who David sent on a suicide mission because he'd got his wife pregnant, remember? 37 of all. So there's 37 in the 30 mighty men. I think you read back in Chronicles, and I don't know if they started out just being 30 and then some were added and they were still called the 30 men, but you also find out they were like on monthly assignments too. They took turns many times in the military there. But 37 names are listed in them all together here of the 30 mighty men, 3 who were chief above all the rest. All right, we'll see you next week for chapter 24.